Wednesday is Juneteenth, a celebration, of course, of the end of slavery. It is a time to reflect on the contributions and gains African Americans have made in the past couple of centuries. But you can't ignore the fact that racial inequity still exists. For example, take a look at this. The wealth gap here. In Brooklyn alone, the wealth gap between white and BIPOC residents is up to $50 billion. Now, economic justice is part of what Brooklyn.org strives to achieve, and the CEO, Jocelynne Rainey, is here to talk about it. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm looking at those numbers. Why is there such a big wealth gap?
You know, I could go through a history lesson. You know, you think about 200 years of free labor where Black people were not being paid. There was no opportunity to create generational wealth. And then you bring on Reconstruction and what happened there, setting us back even more time. And then you add on, you know, redlining and not being able to participate in the GI Bill and not being able to buy property, which we know allows people to create generational wealth a lot faster.
And it's all added up to even nowadays, 2020.
And it's all added up today.
Yeah.
You know, we have 15% of the wealth of white people. There's been a little bit of movement around Black wealth.
That again. For the folks in the back who didn't hear it.
15% of the wealth of white people, Black people have, and we're looking at 2053 having 0% of the wealth. And so even though there's been some movement around wealth accumulation and generational wealth for Black Americans since 2019 in regards to, you know, being able to buy homes, it still hasn't put a dent in those numbers.
Let's talk about that, because what's the real impact on BIPOC families?
You know, the real impact is that BIPOC families, we are so far behind in being able to generate wealth that BIPOC families do not have the opportunities to be able to leave inheritance to their families. I mean, that is where wealth comes from, right? And this inability to be able to buy property, and you know, us at Brooklyn.org, we've been able to do a lot of work with nonprofits in Brooklyn that are actually doing the work to undo a lot of this structural racism, doing the work to be able to make families more stable, and doing the work to advocate and organize around this work.
Yeah, we see how you're doing so right there with career pathways and job training. What are some ways, though, other than that, to achieve economic justice?
I think that, you know, some of the ways to achieve economic justice is to first really lean in to understand that there are so many organizations that are doing work that help families. There's an organization that we are really proud of that is working towards how do we help to connect young people to the STEM jobs that helps to move people into the middle class a lot faster, right? So there are organizations that are working with canners and helping those, you know, there are people who are collecting cans that we see every day. And we turn our head away from that are actually making a living and like raising families on that. And I think that one of the ways that we as African Americans in Brooklyn can think about this is how do we kind of lean into those organizations and how do we make sure that they're supporting our communities.
And so we've been focusing on a lot of the struggles that still remain and will remain, as you mentioned, for decades to come. But it is still a celebration. And Brooklyn.org has some Juneteenth events. Can you tell us about them?
Yep, so we are supporting the Unity Brooklyn event by BRIC. So that will be June 19th. We're really excited about that. You can learn more about that at our website at Brooklyn.org, or also visiting BRIC's website as well. We're supporting that event this week.
What's the website?
BRIC, B-R-I-C,
Yeah.
BRIC, and I believe it probably is BRIC.org.
Okay. All right. Jocelynne, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank
to
you
learn
for
more
having me.
about Brooklyn.org's Juneteenth events or what the organization is doing to promote equity, check out their website right there.